Hi, I'm John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In these challenging economic times, it's imperative that our residents and businesses band together to not only shop Elmhurst, but buy Elmhurst whenever possible. We have great stores in our city center, Spring Road, Butterfield Road, York and Villette Streets, St. Charles and Route 83, North Avenue and Lake Street, along North York and even Grand Avenue. I ask for your help. Let's keep our tax dollars in Elmhurst.
Welcome to the annual State of Our City event here at the Community Bank of Elmhurst. This event has been a sellout and a success since it started in 1998, and this morning is no exception. Please understand the incredible example you all set for the degree of participation in our city by showing up on arguably the coldest day of the year, or at least one of them who's counting. And so the state of our city is cold, but hardy nonetheless. This has been a wonderful event. It now spans some 4 mayors, with Mayor Morley making his first presentation this morning, and we are delighted that all of you are here. I thought about, given the weather, I thought about perhaps doing some running in place or some jumping jacks or something to get us all a little bit warmer. But given the configuration here, I decided instead I'll just ask you to all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To begin our program, I would like to introduce to you a longstanding leader in Elmhurst, a businessman, a civic engager, a friend to many, many, many of us, the chairman of the board of the Community Bank of Elmhurst, Mr. William C. Gooch, Jr.
I'm glad he said my name because I didn't recognize myself by the description. On behalf of the bank, I would like to welcome you. By our count, John Quigley and I went over this and agreed that this was the 17th state of the city, and we didn't do the first 2, but we've done the next 15, and we're already looking forward to next year. So for those of you who have been coming, you know that John Quigley and I have an ongoing bet. Used to be about baseball, but that just wasn't fair. And being a banker full of compassion, we decided to go to golf, and it didn't do much better. But I had a little problem with my knee, so Rich Reichert took my place in the match, and John still lost. So, but and the bet for those of you newcomers is $100, and the $100 from the loser will go to the charity of the winner's choice. And this year we're going to split the $100, $50 to the Elmhurst Walk-In Ministry and $50 to the Kickoff for Kids. So again, welcome, and let's learn a lot. Did you get that? Did you hear that?
Just like you couldn't be talking about that.
Thank you, Bill. And just looking at this tan makes you warmer.
Not me.
Something like, what, 100 degrees difference? And
When the plane I got on versus the wind chill factor, the difference was 116 degrees.
but who's counting?
I am.
Oh. Another long-standing leader in Elmhurst, grew up here, educated here, worked here for a good portion of his career now. The Elmhurst Chamber, one of the most successful in the region. Please welcome the President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. John Quigley.
I'm not as modest as Bill. I recognize that guy right away. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time away from your busy work schedules to join us for our mayor's State of Our City address. During the last mayoral race, I actually joked with candidate Morley at the time that it would be a cold day in Elmhurst before he'd deliver this speech. Come on. To be honest, I said that to every candidate, though. Since 2000, I have traditionally taken a few minutes to talk about the state of the chamber. And I'm happy to report that in 2013, our chamber accomplished much of which we can be proud. With some 600 members, the Elmhurst Chamber ranks as DuPage County's third largest chamber. This past year, our chamber welcomed more than 70 businesses and not-for-profits as new members, while another 15 businesses reactivated their memberships. At the risk of sounding like a broken CD, this will be the 6th year in a row that I stress to business people and residents alike the importance of shopping Chamber first and shopping Elmhurst first, whenever possible, to keep those vital retail sales tax dollars and the associated jobs within our municipality. For the 3rd year in a row, the City of Elmhurst and Chamber teamed up on Got It in Elmhurst, a shop local informational campaign unique in its smartphone text message logo design and diverse in its marketing and promotional strategies. Our chamber has touted Got It via a variety of print and web advertising, event marketing, promotional signage, and even product giveaways. Our shop local message has been pitched to some 45,000 residents and 2,500 businesses and their employees on the covers and inside pages of direct mail publications such as the Annual Community Directory, the biannual Elmhurst Street Map, and the Elmhurst Park District brochures, and many, many more. But how do you measure the success of something like Got It? Well, the simple measurement to me is, since the campaign began, annual tax revenue in Elmhurst from both retail sales and food and beverage sales have exceeded projections. And that's left the city with an unexpected fiscal year-end surplus year after year after year. Give Got It in Elmhurst a great round of applause. After 4 years of a mutually beneficial tenant-landlord relationship, our chamber parted company with the city in anticipation of the long-delayed Hahn Street redevelopment project, which includes our former office space in the Hahn Medical Building. I'm sure that Mayor Morley will have much to say on the project, as the City Council last night made its decision on a redevelopment partner. Give that a round of applause. Mayor Morley also will likely talk about the proposed Addison LLC parking deck, which our chamber is in support of, and the North York Street TIF 4, which the chamber also supported. Yep, there we go.
This may be the shortest one in history. You keep talking.
He's going to give you all the details. I just told you we supported him. That's all you need to know. I also want to thank the DeForest family for so warmly welcoming our chamber as a new tenant in its office building at 300A West Lake Street. Come by and see us sometime, Suite 201. During 2013, we participated in multi-chamber events such as a Passport to Success. That's our business-to-business expo. Our annual February Economic Outlook Luncheon featuring senior economist William Strauss of the Federal Reserve Bank. He'll be back again next month. And the lunch and our big luncheon with about 20 chambers. Last year, we had the School of Rock CEO, Chris Catalano, as our keynote speaker. Our chamber continued its work with the Illinois Chamber of Commerce on business legislative issues in front of the Illinois General Assembly. Our chamber continued the use of our website, www.elmhurstchamber.org, and social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn to share the latest news and information about us and our members to a wider audience of tech-savvy consumers. We are nearing the 500 like mark on Facebook and the 800 Twitter follower mark. And to paraphrase Dr. Evil, we have 1 million visitors to our website every year. If you don't follow us on one of those social media avenues, please like us or follow us. Get on there. And then at no cost to our members, both their website and database services were upgraded, and that upgrade included a mobile web page development, m.elmhurstchamber.org. So every one of you who has a great smartphone that I know is all on mute today, you can visit our website in a mobile version. On January 31st, our chamber will conduct its 95th anniversary annual awards and talent showcase, and I invite all of you to come celebrate with us. We will honor first Community Bank of Elmhurst as the first two-time A.J. Tachi Taronis Business of the Year. Up here in the front, employment consultant Dave McCaffrey of Predictive Personal Assets will be honored as the Chairman's Award winner. Up front, donning his green coat, John Zawoski of Dependable Business Forums will be honored as the first three-time Ambassador of the Year. And then we're going to have the honor of inducting Elmhurst College Jazz Band Director Doug Beach into our Civic Hall of Fame. That's all coming up in a couple days. I also want to emphasize to our members the value of your investment with us and urge non-members to join us to further our vision of being the voice of business and to achieve our mission of promoting an environment that creates success for local businesses and our community. Finally, I want to applaud all of you and the hundreds of other members whose loyal support and steadfast commitment has earned our chamber the respect of government, residents, and peers. I thank you.
Thank you, John. For the first time in its long history, and we're talking about almost 100 years of the Chamber's history, the Chamber Board is being led by someone who was originally a Chamber intern. Just think about that in terms of orders given and details performed and activities, but think about it from the perspective of involvement and loyalty and service and the story that tells about the chairperson of the board of the Elmhurst Chamber, Ms. Julie Miller-Sheehan.
Good morning, and thank you all for attending. I also want to say, as always, thank you to Bill Gooch and the Community Bank of Elmhurst for sponsoring this event and continuing to be a community leader. Thank you very much. When thinking about what I wanted to say this morning, I thought I would follow in my predecessor Paul Cook's footsteps and maybe tease the mayor a little bit. I was thinking something like, someone mentioned to me he's an Iowa grad. But as an Elmhurst College graduate, that doesn't bother me since he's not from Augustana. And then I thought, well, maybe something about how his signature on everyone's business registrations looks like chicken scratches. Everyone else's is nice and neat, and Steve's is just a and done. And then I thought, well, what has really happened in the last year? And I remembered. First, we have the record-breaking flooding in the spring, which actually brought the governor of Illinois to our town and giving our elected but not yet inducted mayor a very quick glance into what being mayor of Elmhurst is all about. Then in July, record-breaking heat wave, which actually had a heat index and power outages and sent our temperatures to over 100 degrees. And now, as we all know, record-breaking wind chill and low temps, or as the meteorologists have called Chicago, Chiberia, and saying that we are in the middle of a polar vortex. So on behalf of everyone, I say, great, thanks. Can't wait to see what you have in store for us for your second year in office. So I think that our mayor will lead us through this year, bringing good things to Elmhurst, and hopefully next year we'll have our own motto, something like the sales tax swirl or the Elmhurst Enterprise Eddy. That's what you can talk about next year. How about that? Regardless of what is thrown at him, nature or otherwise, I know that our mayor will guide us through. We truly are blessed to enjoy the fruits of a business community and our local city government coming together and working very well. The citizens of Elmhurst chose well in our current mayor, and I think that our mayor will lead us through very well. This has always been one of my favorite events, Steve, especially the Q&A, so I hope you're up to date on what's going on with the sidewalk program. So thank you again to everyone for coming. The Chamber has a lot of great events coming up, as you well know, starting with our annual awards gala and talent showcase on Friday. And I hope to see you all a lot, very frequently in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Now, whether or not you agree with Julie's assessments, now.
Good, you outgrown me.
Yeah. It's hard to do. Yeah. We're primed now for our we've had all our warm-ups, rather, and we're primed for our principal speaker of the morning, the gentleman best prepared to tell us about the state of our city. A man of business, a public servant, a family man, a man dedicated to his community and its well-being. For his first State of Our City event, please welcome the Honorable Steve Morley, the Mayor of Elmhurst.
Thanks, Ken. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You learn something new every day, like compare your speech with John Quigley's before he gives his. Or possibly prepare more than 2 jokes when people are going to use them before you even get started. But it's absolutely a pleasure to be here today, and I appreciate the opportunity. I'll take a small chapter out of Mayor Levin from last year, whose opening 8 minutes looked like the beginning of a Johnny Carson bit. It's so cold outside.
How cold is it?
Very nice, very nice. It's so cold outside that John Quigley's baseball team might actually win the World Series this year.
You are correct, sir.
That's it. I've only got one more. It's about halfway through the speech, so please laugh when I get to it.
Just let us know when it comes.
You'll hear crickets. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. The Chamber of Commerce for pulling this event together. The Chamber has been a proud promoter of Elmhurst for over 95 years. I also want to personally thank John Quigley, President and CEO, for his tireless efforts to promote Elmhurst and Elmhurst businesses as he does so on a daily basis. I'd like to thank Ken Bartels for the nice introduction. I'd also like to thank Paul Cook, the previous chairman of the Chamber, for all of his hard work, and congratulate Julie Miller and her kind words. Thank you very much. As the new chairman, I look forward to working with her. Another reminder, it's been said twice, but I'll say it a third time. This Friday, the Chamber is holding their 95th annual awards, and I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but it's a perfect segue. I'd like to congratulate the Community Bank of Elmhurst and Bill Gooch, the sponsor of this event, but also the first two-time winner of the Business of the Year, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday. Still tickets available, Julie?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. I'd like to take an opportunity to acknowledge some of the elected officials that we have here today. I know that it's tight, and actually it is a testament, and John mentioned it, it's a testament to Elmhurst and how much people care about Elmhurst when we have, and I was driving in, the radio said negative 10-degree weather, 50-degree wind chill, and we still have a full house. I know we're packed in tight, so I'm not going to ask you to stand, but I will ask, if I do recognize you, please raise your hands so the people in the room can see that. First and foremost, I want to recognize my fellow elected officials on the City Council. We have 7 wards in town and 14 aldermen. That's a little unique, let me tell you. That's a lot of people to deal with, but we definitely get the job done. Alderman Gutenkauf and Alderman Deuter from the 1st Ward, I believe they're both here. Alderman Leader and Alderman Dunn, I don't know if they could make it today. Alderman Bram and Alderman Polumsky, I believe Alderman Polumsky's here. Alderman Hipskin and Alderman York. Alderman York's in the back in his special chair. Alderman Healy and Alderman Levin, I know that Alderman Levin's here wearing his official speech tie. Alderman Kennedy and Alderman Honquest, new Alderman Honquest in the 6th Ward. Alderman Mulliner, both Alderman Mulliner and Alderman Wagner from the 6th Ward are here. And I also want to acknowledge Clerk Spencer and Treasurer Elaine Leibowitz. Elaine's here. There she is. I'd like to give these folks a round of applause as well. These are the people who not only care about Elmhurst, they don't come out and speak when there's just an individual item that we're facing, but these are the people who spend countless hours every week, 52 weeks a year, and every Monday together, sometimes whether they want to or not, making the tough decisions on behalf of Elmhurst, and I can't thank them enough. The city really couldn't move forward without them. A couple other elected folks. I don't think we have members. Is there any members of the school board here today? I want to thank them for their hard work in my short term as mayor. I've had an opportunity to work with President Collins and Superintendent Dave Bruneau. We'll be working with them closely in the near future on some of our flooding issues. Also, park board members, I know President Kubis is here. Raise your hand. And Jim Rogers, we've also been working with them since I've been mayor about moving forward on some of our flood mitigation issues. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize key members of our city staff, some of the directors and some of our key members. City Manager Jim Grabowski is in the back there. Jim's no longer the new guy. He's been with us over 2.5 years. He replaced some very big shoes and Mr. Tom Borchert, and he's doing a fabulous job. Mike Kopp, Assistant City Manager Mike Kopp's behind Jim there. His work is invaluable. Chief Bassador is here. Brian Berhager from the museum. I saw him earlier. There's Brian. Mary Beth Camp from the director. Mary Beth Camp from the library has been shaking things up over there and improving things since she got here. Bruce DeBeal, our building commissioner, who, as I'll mention later in my speech, has been busier than ever. Marilyn Gaston. Marilyn's here. She's a member of our award-winning finance group. We couldn't do it without her. Steve Weinstock is our interim director at Public Works. We have a vacancy there, but Steve Weinstock has stepped in to fill that void. Valerie Johnson has done a bang-up job as our HR director. Police Chief Mike Ruth is here, along with Dominic Panico, and my eyes are getting worse as we speak. Jim Kavitan's also back there. These folks do a great job. We'll touch a little bit on their accomplishments a little later on. Mike Stenson, the hard-working IT director, or IT manager. City Attorney Don Storino's here. Corey Tabiri is also here. Corey has picked up a lot of the slack with the personnel shortage in her department. We appreciate her hard work. And Than Warner, along with Bruce DeBeal, when we get busy in this city with development, they get extra busy. So I want to give them a round of applause. And also to the entire city staff. We have 290 employees between police, fire, city staff, and library, and they're the ones who keep the city running on a day-to-day basis. We also have various members of some of the boards in town, our library board, our zoning and planning commission, our youth commission, the economic development commission, just to name a few. I know Kurt Warnke's here. Kurt, please raise your hand. Kathy Jordan I saw earlier. Kathy, good to see you. And Daryl Whistler's here, just to mention a few. All of these people dedicated to the city of Elmhurst. Some other elected officials I see are grouping together over there. We've got former mayor and current county board member Pete DeCiani, state representative and Senate candidate Dennis Rebelletti. Good to see you, Dennis. And also Patty Bellock. I think Patty Bellock, in the short time that I've got to know Patty better, is getting a little tired of me, because every time I see her, all we talk about is flooding and how Patty can bring dollars into Elmhurst. So we appreciate the hard work, Patty, in helping Elmhurst doing that. As Scott said last year, at some point I have to cut off recognizing people. Otherwise, I could just start in the back of the room and ask people to stand up and say what they've done to contribute to Elmhurst. So for anybody that I missed, please understand that you are truly appreciated, and we appreciate your hard work on behalf of Elmhurst. Okay, here it comes, Scott. You ready? As you know, this is my first State of the City address. So I had been to many State of the City addresses, but on that side of the podium. So on this side of the podium, I thought I would ask a couple of previous mayors if they had had any advice for me. So I called Pete DeCiani, and I said, Pete, State of the City, any tips for me, any advice? And Pete said, yeah. Make sure you talk about how great Elmhurst is and keep your speech kind of short, around 12 minutes. I asked Alderman Levin, or former Mayor Levin, I said, Scott, any advice for the state of the city? And Scott said, yeah, Steve, make sure you tell everyone how great Elmhurst is, but tell a lot of jokes. They love it. Make it like a comedy routine. I said, okay, Scott, I'll do what I can. Finally, I called Tom Marcucci. I said, Tom, 16 years. I need your help and your advice, state of the city. What do you say? And you know, Tom, he kind of paused, gave me one of these. Steve, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just a bread salesman. And to be honest, I was never that comfortable in front of a microphone. Thank you for this warm reception. On with the state of our city. I ran a couple ideas by Mr. Bartels, and he was very helpful. And at one point, we went through the list, and he said, boy, I think you got enough. And I looked at him like, no, this can't be enough. There's so much. And I'm going to change the saying a little bit, but really what I have here is I'm trying to put 10 pounds of diamonds in a 5-pound bag. There's just not enough time in the day for me to say good things about Elmhurst. But I'm going to do what I can to bring people up to speed on what's happened in the last year and hopefully what we're going to accomplish in the future. And there's so much more to be said. And I would encourage you, and I say this about my friends in the press, they have a tough job. We'll have a meeting that's 2.5 hours long, and they have to try to figure out how to put that into 6 paragraphs. So get your initial information from the press, but if you have any additional questions, please contact any city official, any elected official, really anybody in this room, because those are the people who are informed, and I encourage you to stay informed. Well, 2013 was a very good year for the city of Elmhurst. We continued with our economic recovery. People, businesses, and developers chose to invest in record numbers in the city of Elmhurst. Our financials are better than they've been in over 10 years. That's not to say we're not facing our own challenges, We need to continue to be fiscally vigilant, and we have to continue to make improvements in our infrastructure. But that having said, our city finances are very healthy. Sound economic policy is the cornerstone of our planning and a big portion of our recovery. Part of that economic policy is our new budget process. When I first got on the council 7 years ago, we actually used to plan and vote on our tax levy in November, and we actually wouldn't develop and vote on our budget until April. I'm very happy to say through some very, very hard work with our finance department, we have taken our financial calendar and we've coincided it with a regular calendar. So our financial year now starts on January 1st, and that gives us two main benefits. One is that, as I mentioned, we're able to plan better our expenditures. So not only are we planning our budget, we're planning our tax levy at the same time. In addition, it gives us the ability for more timely bid requests for public works contracts such as streets resurfacing, streetscaping, and other major projects. The good news is that our fund balances continue to grow. Our city code says that we should have in our general fund enough operating capital for 3 to 4 months in our general fund, or as we call our checking account. We should also have somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million in our working cash fund. And people ask, well, what's the reason for that? Why do you have that money there? Well, I can think of two specific examples. In 2001 and in 2008-09, when we had our downturns. Unlike the federal government, we don't have the ability to borrow and borrow and borrow. So it's important during good times that we save up our reserves, so then we're facing some difficult times, we actually can tap into those reserves. So in 2007 and 2008, when our revenue was falling short, we were able to tap in because of prior leadership both at city staff and previously elected officials. We're able to tap into some of those reserves, and although we don't want to do it, the fact that we have the ability to do it and not many towns in Illinois can, we draw down some of those reserves. So we pull some money out. If you have a tax shortage, let's say a sales tax shortage, one year your sales tax are at $7 million, and the next year they come in at $5.5 million. Well, what you don't want to do is turn to your residents and immediately tax them that difference. So you use that fund, and that's why it's so important that these fund balances are where the city says they should be. I'm very happy to say that at the end of 2013, our general fund is over $15.5 million. That's the highest it's been in over 10 years. I think city staff and the elected officials deserve a round of applause for that. That shows they're being good shepherds with the city's money, and also certainly the city of Elmhurst and the residents have participated in that. And our working cash fund is at a little over $800,000. We project that'll be at our maximum limit of $1 million at the end of this year. So I truly think that's a testament to all the hard work. Some of our other financial highlights, and our city staff really deserves the bulk of the credit on this, is Standard & Poor's raised our bond rating from AA+ to AAA. That puts us in the That puts us in the top 10% in the state of Illinois. Some people will say, well, so what? What does that matter? I'm glad you asked that question. That matters when we go out either to do a capital project and we go to float bonds, or when we have an opportunity to refund bonds, or another way to put it is refinance some of our debt. So recently this year, we refinanced or refunded bonds from 2003, 2004, and 2005, and due to our incredible bond rating, we were able to go out to the market, refinance that debt, and save the city $1.5 million just because of our good credit. So it's a real testament to Marilyn Gaston and the rest of city staff for all of their hard work. The citizens of Elmhurst continue to enjoy the benefit of electrical aggregation, which the City Council voted through about 16 months ago. To date, we've saved the citizens of Elmhurst $4.5 million. That's just not a number on a page. That is real dollars that is taken off everyone's electric bill every month. So, and those are published rates. Those are proven savings based on what we're paying and what ComEd is charging other customers. John Quigley mentioned sales tax, and I mentioned a little bit about the sales tax gap. I'm happy to say that since 2009, our sales tax collected in the city have continued to go up. We were actually at a low in 2009 of $5.8 million. but the city of Elmhurst pulled together and our businesses pulled together, and I'm happy to say that 2013 we collected $8.16 million in sales tax. That's a 40% increase in just 4 years, and that's a true testament to the rebound of the economy and the resiliency of Elmhurst. Our city tax levy, we were very fortunate in 2011 to levy a 0% tax increase. In 2012, we actually reduced our levy by 1%. In 2013, city staff, city finance department, and our finance committee made the very tough decision to analyze our current pension fund contributions. It's not something that's something that you want to do, but it's something that we felt we had to do. And unlike the state of Illinois, we actually have a plan to fully fund our pensions at 100%. Now, that doesn't come without hard work. We've made commitments to the police and fire personnel through their contracts. We need to follow through and make sure their pensions are there. We were actually using actuarial tables from 1974 when we were looking at what our contributions could be. We took a close look at what they should be, and we had to up our contributions this year. Now, it's a modest increase in our property tax of approximately $27 a home. $23 of that is going to feed that pension gap. And I'm very happy to say, through the hard work of Marilyn Gaston, Kevin York, and others, the City Council made the tough decisions, and we're addressing that pension gap, and we're on a road to funding at 100%. So thank you very much. I'm often asked, and I was asked during the election, thanks for your confidence, by the way, John. Sure, I really appreciate that.
I had your back.
Yeah. Right behind me the whole way. I was often asked during the election, and I'm asked as I've been mayor, what's the number one issue and number one priority in the city of Elmhurst? And the answer is the same. It's revenue. Revenue is the lifeblood of our city. And without revenue, we can't move forward. Now, there's two ways for the city to get revenue and to increase our revenue. One is to increase the taxes on our current tax base. So that is our citizens and our businesses. Increase taxes on them to raise our revenue. That's not the preferred way. The other way we can do this is to broaden our tax base, and that's through development. I think that's our number one should be our number one priority, and it's our number one opportunity in a town like Elmhurst that's mature, is to broaden our commercial tax base. That having been said, a couple of highlights from the departments at the city. The building department issued 2,626 permits. There were 115 new home permits. That's a 21% increase from last year. There was 41 permits issued for additions. That's a 95% home increase. The total valuation of construction dollars invested in the city of Elmhurst in 2013 is $85 million. I think that's a real testament to the city and the strength of this city, that people want to come and invest their hard-earned dollars. And I think it shows that we're on the right track. I mentioned Chief Ruth earlier. One of the biggest things that Chief Ruth did, and he mentioned this during his interview, and he stood by his word after we hired him, is the police department has focused its efforts to be more visible in our community. Some of those efforts include reactivation of the Citizens Police Academy, reactivation of the Elmhurst Police Bike Patrol. Our patrol officers' assignments now include foot duty, so in nice weather they're actually encouraged not only to drive around but to get out and mix with the community. Believe it or not, I actually got a complaint from somebody because they saw too many police at an event. And I thought, wow, if that's the biggest complaint I'm going to get today, that's going to be okay. It's a testament to Chief Ruth and our deputies in making that happen. Police and schools also celebrated their 25th anniversary of their very successful DARE program, and our SRO, school resource officers, continue to make their presence known both at Elmhurst Middle Schools and York High School. The result of all of this hard work, Elmhurst police departments reported a significant decrease in various areas of reported crime. Robbery down 73%. If you recall last year, Alderman Levin said maybe you want to stay away from banks. I'm happy to say, Mr. Gooch, robberies went down from 15 to 4. I think that's a significant decrease. Burglaries, which was also a concern, in 2012 we had 145 burglaries reported. In 2013, 57, a decrease of 60%. Again, a testament to the hard work of our police officers. Aggravated assault and battery down 45%. Motor theft down 18%. Thank you again to the police department for all of your hard work. Some updates from our fire department. Elmhurst firefighters and paramedics responded to 6,616 calls for service. 6,616 calls for service in 1 year. And that's not if you average that, that's 18 calls a day. And we all know it's not 18 calls a day. During bad weather and during tough times, you can imagine, I think during the Mayor Levin, during your flood, on April 18th, I think there was 170 calls alone answered. So we appreciate the hard work. The fire department also negotiated, along with the city council, to approve a 5-year contract extension with Metro Paramedics. The fire department also applied for and received grants from the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Illinois State Fire Marshal's Office, and the Illinois Water Works. Finally, the fire department also continued training sessions with city staff at our EOC, and we appreciate all of their hard work. Thank you very much. Public Works planted 578 new trees. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that's one of those things I'll call a rubber band issue in our budget. When we're facing tough times, there was times a couple of years ago, two years in a row, we didn't plant any trees. So again, I appreciate the hard work there. Public Works also bid and contracted a new roof for City Hall, installed a new generator at our wastewater treatment plant that uses some of the byproduct to power that facility. Also completed design engineering for the sanitary lift station at Route 83, 3rd Street, and the Southwest Weather Control Facility project. Southwest Weather Control Facility project. It's an enhancement to our storm sewer in the southwest corner of town, and also the water treatment plant. Also, sanitary flow monitoring was increased to help alleviate surcharging in those areas. And construction for the Sailor Avenue Dry Weather Force Main project started in the fall and is 95% complete and will be finished this spring. Over 9 miles of roads were resurfaced, and the intersection of Butterfield and Commonwealth was completely torn up and replaced, partially by help with a $800,000 federal grant. Brian Burhager's here. The Elmhurst Historical Museum went online live with their collections, which allows viewers to go online and view some of our historical collection directly from their house. The Heritage Foundation kicked off their new fundraising campaign, and I'm happy to say it's a 2-year campaign, and they've already exceeded 50% of their $250,000 goal. That's a testament to them and the citizens of Elmhurst, and that's going to help fund a new and modern exhibit for the history of Elmhurst. 3 exhibits were also shown at the Historical Museum: On the Road to Glory, featuring our own Fast Freddie Lorenzen, Shudder to Think about rock photography, and Our Lives, Our Story, a traveling exhibit about the generation that experienced the Great Depression and World War II. Mary Beth Camp is here. Our library, it's hard to believe, but our library celebrated its 10-year anniversary in what I still consider the new building. For the 4th year in a row, the Elmhurst Public Library received the national ranking from the Library's Journal of Annual Reviews, and they received 4 stars for the 2nd year in a row. The library also joined a resource sharing partnership with other libraries called Lincoln. That's where we've been in the city, and we'll continue to work hard in those departments. But as we look forward to the future in 2014, there's 2 things I'd like to emphasize. One is redevelopment, and the other is infrastructure. Our number one infrastructure issue is battling our current flooding challenges that were exacerbated in April 18th, but we've had several events over the past few years. Now, I've mentioned some of the sanitary work that's being put into place, and that's going to benefit thousands of homes, but we need to concentrate on stormwater flooding. I feel this is the year that we need to concentrate on that flood mitigation. We hired Christopher Burke Engineering. Burke Engineering has identified 10 locations in town. We're a mature town. It's very difficult to identify open green space, but Burke Engineering identified 10 locations in town where we can do improvements and during flood events draw water away from homes and people's basements and have them temporarily retained, let's say in a depressed or recessed soccer field, that are engineered in such a way that it will drain a day later. But when the streets are flooded and the homes are flooding, this will actually draw the homes away, draw the water away. I mentioned we've been working, and our city staff and elected officials have been working with the park boards and school boards on these projects. With regard to these projects, there's millions and millions of dollars to be spent, and that's what's taking so long. The city has gone through this process, and since I've become mayor, we've worked through an educational process with the park boards and the school boards. We can't answer enough questions as it relates to that. However, I do think it's time to move forward and put a shovel in the ground on these projects. I've asked city staff and Chairman of Public Works, Jim Kennedy, to move forward and prioritize out of the 10 our top 3 or 4 projects that will have the greatest impact to mitigate flooding in Elmhurst. Now, the land that's been identified is controlled by the parks and the schools, and I can appreciate that. They're the stewards of that land. However, when it comes to a citywide problem like this, I think it's important to understand while those entities are stewards of that land, the land belongs to the citizens of Elmhurst. And we all need to get together. This isn't a school problem, a parks problem, or a city problem. This is everybody's problem, and I'm asking everyone to pull together and work on behalf of the citizens of Elmhurst. Some additional projects as we look forward to development. The Elmhurst Hospital recently sold the Berteau campus to a housing developer. I've had the opportunity to work with the new leadership at the hospital. Lou Mastro has been very good at keeping me informed. The housing developer has actually met with the city twice. They're very open to the city's influence and city's opinion. The city also owns about 2 acres adjoining that property, so we have a keen interest in that property getting redeveloped. TIF 4 is up and running. That was a lot of hard work, 18 works in the planning, but it's actually up and running. And so is the planning for that area. Our North York plan, we formed a steering committee for corridor planning is what it's called, and that's well underway. Mariano's is open. A shout out to former Mayor Pete DeCiani, who had a lot to do with bringing Mariano's into town. That is a fantastic anchor to put right in the middle of TIF 4, and it already makes the properties around it attractive, and developers are literally knocking on our door every day. The Waverton property is under contract. We're looking forward to that being redeveloped and becoming a productive tax-producing body in the city of Elmhurst. Now, as it relates to TIF 4, one thing I want to mention, it also relates to our intergovernmental agreement with the parks and the schools. For TIF 4, we have the most progressive revenue sharing agreement in the state of Illinois. We have a written agreement with revenue sharing for for all of our taxing bodies, but primarily with the schools and the parks. The reason why I bring up that revenue sharing agreement is because even though it was a lot of hard work and it was very difficult, I know that all 3 of these governmental bodies can work together. If we can pull together a complex revenue sharing agreement like we did for TIF 4, we can certainly get together and solve our flooding problems. TIFs 1, 2, and 3 are set to expire, all of them, within the next 8 years. TIF 1, the good news on TIF 1 is very complicated. TIF rules change almost every year. TIF 1 actually has an overlay of a sales tax TIF. That TIF expires this year. What does that mean? That allows us as a city to start declaring surpluses and sharing some of that surplus with the rest of our taxing bodies. Over the next 6 years, TIF 1, we project, will share over $14 million with the rest of our taxing bodies. That's $9.5 million alone going to our schools when they so badly need it. Some of the other development in town, the Addison Street parking deck. Right now, it's before the Zoning and Planning Commission. I'll limit my comments on that, except to say that we actually had a parking study in town, and that parking study showed us 2 things. At certain times of the day, and I don't need to tell the people in this room this, but at certain times in the day, it's kind of tough to find parking in downtown Elmhurst. So we do have, at certain times of the day, a parking issue. But the other half of this parking deck, regardless of how tall it gets built, is the consultant told us without question, future development will require additional parking. So not only are we building for today, but we're building for the future. Finally, as it relates to Hahn Street, good old Hahn Street, last year Mayor Levin wanted to rename it. We've been talking about it so long. We actually started acquiring property for Hahn Street in 2001. I know it's hard to believe it's 2014, but I'm happy to say that the City Council rolled up his sleeves, has been working very hard on this, and last night we actually had our final vote, and City Council has instructed city staff to negotiate with David Strausberg and the Morningside Group, and I just want to congratulate them on that. And also thank the City Council for their hard work. We had some very, very productive discussions. In closing, I'd like to say it's an honor to represent the great town of Elmhurst. It's also an honor to work with my fellow aldermen, civic leaders, and city staff. I can't imagine a more dedicated group of people. To the citizens of Elmhurst, I think you're second to none, and you deserve the very best. And I will continue to work every day to provide you with that. And finally, on a personal note, a special thank you to my family for their patience, love, and support for seeing Dad a whole lot less over the past couple of months. And with that, I said I did watch the State of the City last year, so with that, I would be happy to entertain one question.
Are you done?
I'm finished. Who wants to be the lucky one?
Back there, go ahead.
Yes. What's going on at the Waverton? Good question. There was a bid. An entity out of Texas actually owned it. That property went into default, and somebody owned it in Texas, and they bid it out, and 3 developers bid on it. One developer secured the rights to go out and negotiate for that. Right now, they are accepting all offers and all ideas, so nothing as of yet. There is also property adjacent to it, and some of that property may or may not play into that depending on what's coming there. Good question. Any other?
Chick-fil-A will have its grand opening this week at Elmhurst Crossing, but there's also another parcel available at Elmhurst Crossing. Can you talk about the Dominics?
The Dominics, yes. Actually, today's the 28th, yes? Did I get my calendar right? I showed up. I believe that all indications are that Whole Foods is prepared to take over that property. There's not been an official announcement. It's my understanding that there may be an official announcement with regard to Whole Foods in that property within the next week, if not today. That's the latest I've heard.
Anybody else?
Pier 1. No news on Pier 1. That's a recent vacancy, and I know that city staff and some of our marketing folks are working to fill that. So.
Joe?
Stevens Steakhouse. That's a great question, and it's a little more complex than just shouldn't something be at Stevens Steakhouse. A couple of things on that. It's privately owned. We actually, they got very close to a deal about 3 or 4 years ago for kind of a supersized mini mart gas station, but that fell through. But that's one of the things that, one of the things and one of the reasons why a TIF is put into place is to cover that gap, and really what that TIF is for, the future investment. So we're hoping that because that falls into the TIF 4, that North York corridor, we're hoping that with the added incentive that TIFs allow, that somebody can come in with a new idea that maybe didn't make sense before, but with a little bit of participation will make sense. So privately owned, but we're still working to get that taken care of. So, any other comments or questions? With that, I'll thank you for your patience and your time, and thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here, and please recognize that the state of our city is in your hands. Outside people view Elmhurst as appealing and energetic and successful and traditioned, versatile and open. You're all doing all of that every day. So thank you so very much, and have a safe journey home. Good morning.
Visit elmhurst.org to explore the new City of Elmhurst website. Find out the latest Elmhurst news, pay utility bills and parking tickets, report concerns, and much more. Elmhurst.org is an ideal way to discover what Elmhurst offers your business, your family, your life.
The Churchville Schoolhouse opens the door to the best education in history. Visitors to the Churchville Schoolhouse take a step back in time to watch history unfold in a restored National Register of Historic Places property that dates to the Civil War era. Students of today walk in the footsteps of local farm children from the early days of DuPage County for an authentic living history experience led by a schoolmarm of the early 1900s. A visit to the Churchville Schoolhouse is hands-on, educational, and fun. Participants use slate chalkboards and McGuffey readers for the day's lessons. And children will be asked to follow proper classroom etiquette. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are practiced, and students test their skills during an old-fashioned spelling bee. And of course, no school day is complete without recess featuring games of the early 1900s. The schoolhouse is a popular place for scouts and day camps too. Group visits can also be arranged for service clubs, tour groups, and other adult organizations. The Churchville Schoolhouse Living History program is operated by the Elmhurst Historical Museum. Call the museum today to book a field trip or find out more information. Call 630-833-1457 or visit our website at churchvilleschoolhouse.org. The Churchville Schoolhouse is waiting to open the doors for your school or community group. Plan a memorable learning experience today for the best education in history.